Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 9. American Government. The Judicial Branch. Part 2. Decision by Majority. Disagreements about U.S. law are usually only heard by the Supreme Court after they have been considered by other lower courts. The federal court system of the United States has 3 levels. At the bottom are 94 district courts. Every state and territory has at least one district court. Above the district courts are 11 courts of appeals. If a matter is not considered permanently resolved at the district court level, it can be appealed to the next level and heard in one of the 11 courts of appeals. At the top of the federal court system is the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the nation. It resolves disputes between state governments and reviews other matters of national importance. Usually, Supreme Court cases involve disagreements about whether a state or federal law goes against the Constitution. After the Supreme Court makes a decision about a disagreement, there is no higher court to which the case can be taken. The Supreme Court's ruling is final. Each year, thousands of petitions are made for a case to be reviewed by the 9 Supreme Court justices. Fewer than 100 cases are chosen. Several factors help the court decide whether to hear a case. Cases chosen generally involve issues of national importance. They are also usually undecided in lower courts, meaning judges in other federal courts couldn't come to a satisfactory answer, or arrived at answers that conflicted with each other. Civics test question. What is the highest court in the United States? What is the highest court in the United States? The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. There are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. Each of the 9 justices is appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate, and serves for life or until retirement. The Constitution gives Supreme Court justices lifetime appointments to give them less motive to be influenced by popular or mainstream political opinion when making decisions about controversial cases. 8 of the 9 justices of the Supreme Court are known as associate justices. The 9th justice is given the title of Chief Justice. The Chief Justice of the United States does not have more of a say than the other Supreme Court justices when resolving a dispute heard by the court. There are some special responsibilities and powers the Chief Justice has, however, that the other Supreme Court justices do not have. For example, the Chief Justice oversees the selection of cases to be heard by the Supreme Court, taking a large role in narrowing down the thousands of Supreme Court petitions made annually to the fewer than 100 the court actually hears. The Chief Justice also has the job of maintaining order among the other justices, moderating debates when disagreements get heated, and ensuring that court proceedings run smoothly. Another thing the Chief Justice of the United States does is supervise Supreme Court staff in general. When needed, the Chief Justice will also carry out important functions as the head of the judicial branch of government. If a U.S. president is impeached, for instance, the Chief Justice oversees the Senate trial that determines whether the impeached president will be removed. Because there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court, their rulings are almost never split evenly in 2. Instead, by the end of a Supreme Court case, there is typically a decision by majority that has made the official ruling of the court. In the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, for example, 7 of the 9 Supreme Court justices ruled that state laws requiring segregation on public transportation were not unconstitutional. Even though one justice was absent and one justice disagreed with the others, there was a clear majority opinion. So the government accepted as official the Supreme Court's decision that the Constitution does not prohibit segregation. When the 9 justices serving on the Supreme Court about 60 years later considered a similar issue, they came to the opinion that segregation in public schools is unconstitutional. In Brown versus Board of Education, there was no disagreement among Supreme Court justices. All 9 had the same opinion, which meant that the decision was not only by majority, but unanimous. Finally, in the case of Texas versus Johnson, the 9 Supreme Court justices were torn on the issue of whether or not burning the U.S. flag counts as an act of free speech protected by the First Amendment. Despite the conflicting opinions in the court, however, 5 justices eventually came to the conclusion that burning the flag in order to demonstrate how you feel about an issue is in fact an action protected by Americans' constitutional rights to freedom of speech and to freedom of expression. Even though the other 4 justices disagreed, because 5 is the greater number, a decision was made by majority, and the U.S. government had to accept the ruling that states cannot make laws prohibiting people from exercising their freedom of speech by doing things like flag burning. Civics test question. How many justices are on the Supreme Court? How many justices are on the Supreme Court? 9. There are 8 associate justices and 1 chief justice on the Supreme Court, making 9 justices total. Civics test question. Who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? Who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? Do you know the answer to this question? If you're not sure who the Chief Justice of the United States is now, visit supremecourt.gov to find out. Toward the top right of the supremecourt.gov homepage, click the word About. Then click the word Justices on the drop-down menu. A foundational principle of U.S. government that underlies the powers and responsibilities of the judicial branch is an idea known as the rule of law. The rule of law is the standard that everyone must follow the law, even people in positions of great power and influence. Leaders must obey the law. Government must obey the law. No one is above the law, not even the President, the Speaker of the House, or the Chief Justice of the United States. All courts in the United States are expected to defend the idea that no one is above the law. The 9 Supreme Court justices and all other people who work in the judicial branch have the duty of protecting Americans' basic rights and defending the Constitution of the United States by standing up for the idea that everyone must follow the law. Civics test question. What is the rule of law? What is the rule of law? Everyone must follow the law. The rule of law is the principle that everyone must follow the law. Leaders must obey the law, and government must obey the law. No one is above the law. This is the end of Lesson 9 of Citizenship on the Go.